Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for taking this time on a Saturday morning with so much in transition. Thank you for taking this time to be with us. Um, we are in a moment of reflection as we look back at 2 years from the campfire, as we look back at 4 years of a presidential, as a president in transition. Today, we just got the news, as many of you probably already know, it's been called for Biden. So we want to just identify that as, some big news that you're probably getting, and we don't want to ignore that because this is a conversation that explores our community, how we come together. So we're not here to be experts giving you advice, but to be an exploration together. And so that news is significant. With that, I'm going to pass it over to a dear friend and colleague, Julian Cohen, who's going to go through some of the concepts we'll be working with today. And then we're going to do some short introductions from our board at Regenerating Paradise. Julian? You are muted.
Yeah.
Hello.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
So at Regenerating Paradise, our stated purpose is to weave the social fabric that regenerates us. So we see weaving as an activity of bringing together all the parts of our culture and our community. Those parts include businesses, churches, clubs, schools, government, builders, thinkers, musicians, artists, all of us. And together, all those parts make a whole, like a tapestry, like a nest. The whole is complex. All the parts need each other, just like an orchestra. The role of Regenerating Paradise is to make the parts visible and to link them in a way that makes their roles more effective, integrated, and resilient. The work we do requires deep listening and understanding. It involves renewed ways of getting to know each other. In the ashes of the campfire are our losses and memories. Out of the ashes are our dreams and futures. So the Revival Festival is an invitation to share and a welcoming space to rejuvenate ourselves and co-imagine our world together. And I will pass the introductions on to Susan.
Hi there. Thanks, Julian. That was a great statement. I'm Susan Dobra. I lived in Paradise in a lovely little home with my partner, John Michael Sun, who hopefully you just heard the music of as we were coming in. And on November 8th, we lost our whole neighborhood, our whole town, and everything that we owned, as most of you know. And I first met Alan Myers on the day after Christmas, watching a Facebook film that he had done of walking through his parents' property, which the house he grew up in also was lost, and he did a very moving film. And so I said, I need to meet this guy. And when he started having community meetings, I think around February, I attended with him, and that's where I met Julian and Bob, who came in to help us think through how we could respond as a community to this tragic loss and how we could make it into an opportunity to vision a sustainable, regenerative future. And so I've been hanging out with them ever since, and also going to a lot of other meetings, the Campfire Collaborative, the Campfire Restoration Project, lots of other things to sort of weave together as much as I could of what I was hearing from our community about what we wanted to do from here. Where do we want to go? And I think visioning that future is what is sacred work. And I'm happy to have you here today to do it with us. Thank you. And I guess I'll pass it on to David Zink.
Hello, everyone. My name is David Leon Zink. I, title-wise, participate with Regenerating Paradise under the title Board Chair, which effectively means everybody does more work than I do. My life here in Magalia with my wife of coming on 40 years was completely transformed a couple of years ago when the Camp Fire destroyed our home, our neighborhood, our town, and sent us into a whole new chapter of life. And prior to that point, I served and continue to serve as president of Paradise Community Guilds. Our mission statement there is, well, the vision statement is be the community you want to live in. And that ethos has just exploded post Camp Fire into one of continual weaving in every new area of activity as we bring our community together. And so all at once, after the Camp Fire, I was not part of just one volunteer organization, but 5. Another one is the California Trails Education Project, where we help connect trails to everyday life. And then with the Norton Buffalo Hall Foundation that has the vision of fostering community by nurturing creativity. And I'm serving now as a secretary for the Paradise Arts Alliance, which is all about stimulating local participation in the arts. And I mentioned my role here with Regenerating Paradise. Essentially, those of us who are called to return to community post-catastrophe are, by nature, weavers. We come to join our life energy with those in a common intent to come back into the enjoyment of each other's company and build a life from there. That's my introduction, and I will pass the talking stick on to Bob Stilger.
Thank you, David. I have to say, it's just really nice to be here with all of you this morning. And it feels like an especially important morning, not only for Paradise, but for the United States and the world as we step into an unknown, but a new unknown. I'm with New Stories, which is a nonprofit educational corporation that has been around for a couple of decades, inviting people into what are the new stories that we want in our lives right now. How do we want to live? 2 years ago, I was waking up in Fukushima in Japan in what was the afternoon of November 8th here. And I looked at my Facebook feed and I had all these friends who were marking themselves as safe, which is always the indication that something's not safe. And I started looking further and saw what was happening in your wonderful community. And I knew that I would show up there. I didn't know when or how, but my work is work of being called to communities in the United States and across the world that have suffered from catastrophe and who are beginning to use that catastrophe as an opening to create the future that we actually want. After the death and the destruction of disasters, there's a moment. There's a moment of waking up and saying, what's important? Who are we? What do we want? How do we want to live our lives? And so when Alan invited Julie and I to come to Paradise in March of last year, it was an immediate yes. And I've had the wonderful privilege of working with many people from Paradise and from Magalia and Butte County in this question of what are the lives that we want now and how will we create them? So it's good to be here with you today. And I'm going to pass it back to Julian, I think.
Yeah, I think, let's see. We could go back to Alan right now. We could ask people if they had an opportunity to bring an object to show the whole group, an object of meaning.
Julian, I think you should introduce yourself, and I think Alan needs to introduce himself.
Yes, you're right. Let's do that. So we're running over time a little bit, and we do have a time schedule to stick to. So I would say I'm Julian. I actually live in Windsor, although I come up to Paradise a fair bit. All the people I meet there are my brothers and sisters. I'm part of a group called Living Guild. And we've had our share of fires here. I haven't been burnt out, but I've been within a mile and a half of being burnt out on 2 or 3 separate occasions in the last 3 years, been evacuated 3 times. You know the rest of the story about the community and so on, and the collective trauma and the collective revitalization that we will have to go through. So, Alan, over to you.
Thanks, Julian. My introduction. I was born and raised in Paradise, and after when the fire happened and seeing the scale of devastation, but at the same time seeing family and friends coming off of that ridge hand in hand, and communities not just outside, not in Chico and Orville, but around the world opening their doors. There was a spirit of camaraderie and generosity that I believe is fundamental to our existence on this planet, and a healthy relationship with each other and the planet. And so my hope is that we in some way can keep that spirit alive, if it's through this group or others, but being able to talk about that in meaningful ways and look at how that can show up in actionable ways in our communities. And I recognize that we have folks here that aren't just from Paradise. We have Linda, who is representing communities in Phoenix and Tennant, Oregon, who lost their homes. We have folks in Napa County. We have disaster recovery workers from Washington on this call, because we, in this small group today, it is a small group, but there's something that's calling us forward. So I'm excited to be in these conversations with you over the next 2 days. I believe there's a lot that we can get done together, and a lot that we can illuminate and share out with our community. So with that, I think we can transition into this object sharing, which is essentially what is, the objects that we lost were significant because of the stories they held. And the ones that we pulled out of the ashes are just as significant for the same reason. So it helps us connect to each other and to stories. So I'm going to hold up my object, and I think we can take a moment. We'll go into breakout groups and discuss what's meaningful to us. Mine is an apple, if everybody wants to hold up their object. This is an apple from my family's orchard in Paradise. So it is a starting point for me. Cool, lovely to see all these stories being held up. Significant, yeah. See books. I see seeds. I see you all. Thanks. Julian, you want to lead us into our breakout groups?
Yes. So we're going to go into groups, and I think we're going to go into groups of 3 or 4, and we're going to share our object, the meaning of our object with the other people in the group. If you don't have one, you can just name it, okay? And really, it's a way of getting to know each other. The idea of the object is it breaks the barrier that words often create for us, and it allows us an entry into each other's stories. So we're gonna break out into groups just for 10 minutes, and we'll share our stories, and we'll give everyone a chance to talk. The rule for our breakout groups is that everyone in the group has an equal chance, and there'll be someone in your group that will be a member of Regenerating Paradise that will help ensure that there's a equal participation and everyone gets to be heard. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, let me just add that I pasted into the chat a link for a Jamboard. And this is something that just if it's helpful in your group to use for someone to use for harvesting some of the gems and the headlines of what you're saying, because part of what we're doing here is we are weaving a new collective story, and the Jamboard can help us in that.
Thanks,
And
Bob.
part of the way that works is you go to the link and you'll notice that like you're in room number 4 and just scroll across the top to go to Jamboard number 4.
Okay, John. Over to you, Bob. You're on mute. Yeah, Bob, you're still on mute.
I am, and I have multiple screens going on. So we have a bit of time to share what was said and what had the most heart and meaning in those breakout rooms. Julian, how much time do we have for that now? But still have 15 minutes? You're on mute, so I can't hear you.
I'm losing track of time, so let me just do a quick addition here.
Okay.
25. We're really a little bit behind time, so let's do a quick 5-minute popcorn harvest.
Okay. Just quickly then from people, what did you hear in your breakout room that really went, aha, yeah, that's what I haven't been able to name before. That's what is really touching me. Anyone who's ready to go, please unmute yourself and speak to all of us.
I'll go.
Great.
Because I think her name's Geneva. I wanted to see where she was at. And I just, because I'm so far away, I want to see what paradise looks like now. And I don't know if we'll be able to do that or not.
Great. And what did you see? What?
It looked like oaks and a bit of grassland and 2 upside down 5-gallon buckets.
Cool.
Yeah,
I
there she is. There's Geneva showing her land with her camera.
Let's hear from a couple other people.
Can I? This is Tony Borges with Component System. Could I speak to the group?
Yes, please.
We
Yes.
have a plan. We have a plan to put a plant in Paradise to put about 10,000 people to work building a home that we build here in California for schools and other countries. This home is actually fire resistant. It has no wood in it, but you can design any type of home that you want to build. We have about 50 homes on schedule now, but we also have an insurance company that will back our product. But we've been doing this for a long time. I've been building schools since 1980.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much. This is a time for harvesting from the breakout group, but thank you for sharing that.
Yep. Let's hear from some of the other breakout rooms.
You know, I appreciate everyone that is showing up for this, and we, you know, rightly so, Paradise took center stage and continues to be a spotlight for stories. And this is a place for the community to talk about their stories. So of course we have experts that want to share their information, but this is not the place for that. This is for the community to gather and share what we're experiencing and what we want. There will be times for that, and there are other venues for that, but this is not that venue. In my group, we had a really nice session, and from a dear friend who I know as more of a skater dude. He spoke really eloquently about the biggest piece that he's noticed. He didn't have an object, but he said, my object essentially is the bonds and relationships that have been forged through this experience, and that it crosses through time, that it's from before the fire, currently in it, and then in the future.
I think we have time for two more.
May I?
Please.
I loved something that Julian shared, and I apologize if I misquote it, but the idea that when someone is lost, after losing them, their spirit can become more potent or more palpable, or you can feel a closeness. And I sense that that's can be true for Paradise too. Like, it's lost, but then the desire to pull it closer is there. I thought that was really beautiful what you shared, Julian. If you'd like to amend it.
Thanks, Annie. I want to share what Nancy said. So Nancy talked about how she was in the Oakland fire 28 years ago. And how after the Oakland fire, what she remembers is that everybody just sort of went back to doing what they were doing before, and that it was going to get back to the way it was, and that there wasn't a sense of a community sensing into what's possible now and how to use this as a time to create something new. And I thought that juxtaposition of what disasters were 28 years ago and what
I mean, a small pine cone that turns into a giant sequoia, music, a journal, a cat bonding with animals. I mean, they're just all beautiful things to be engaged with that make life meaningful.
Thank you. Thank you, Geneva, for writing something into the chat. If others of you can share part of your harvest in the chat, that would be wonderful. I mean, part of what we're looking for here today and tomorrow is a better understanding and a better revealing of the new collective story that's being created. And Julian, I think hand over to you.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask Kit to jump in if he wants to at any time. But I'm just going to take a few minutes because we got this word regenerating. Okay, regenerating paradise. I mean, it's a complicated word, and a lot of the words we use to depict ourselves are very loaded. Ecosystem, for instance, is very loaded or green. And so we just wanted to take a little bit of time to explain what we mean by regeneration, so it's not so mysterious. And then we can the whole group can start to talk about the weaving and the shift of consciousness that we could go through to do this work. So regenerating, it means, as I said, it means a lot of things to a lot of people. It's often used in land use. Is used in biodynamic farming. It's used in permaculture, but we're really emphasizing the community. Okay, so we've got a number of things at play, but the underlying principles of regenerating are what can we do, I do, a group do, the whole community does that lifts what other people do. And sometimes we refer it to as nested systems. So how can I improve my family's well-being and at the same time improve my neighbor's well-being? That would be two systems nesting together. How can my construction business that was just mentioned earlier, I think by Tony, how can that be brought in a regenerative way, in a nested systems way, so what we do helps other people, helps the community, and what the community does helps us back. So in regeneration, there's always a reciprocity component. There's a way that we're benefiting everything around us, not just ourselves. And so we're thinking, okay, how does a community rebuild that was completely destroyed, not just in buildings, not just in roads, but in human potential? So how can we increase all those potentials of ourselves, the human, of the group, social, of the built capital, of the financial capital, and at the same time, how can we improve the ecosystems? So maybe that's a snapshot. And Kit, do you have like a minute or two just to jump something in?
Sure. I know you're probably worried. I'll talk to him. If you think of a living system like a community in its relationship to its environment, it really has to regenerate that relationship because the environment changes. And so if you have a catastrophe, that's a major change. Now that living system has a lot of, how's it going to become itself again? And so one of the ways to look at that is to go, what's essential about us, about our community? And how do we find new potential in the new environment, given who we really are? And that's why it's important to talk together to find out, well, then what's essential about us and in the new environment? Then how can we really reconstruct ourselves, regenerate ourselves in that new environment? And that's the process of regenerative development in a nutshell.
Okay, so we're going to stay as a whole group. I think David's going to talk a bit about Paradise Community Guilds, and David, Susan, and Alan are going to sort of just start with the weaving narrative, and then we're going to actually be as a whole group, and then we're going to go into breakout groups, which will discuss what weaving needs to happen now, and how can it be regenerative. So how can we bring all those parts together into a whole that's more effective. So I guess David, Susan, Alan.
How much time do you want to give me, Julian?
I think
You're muted. Give me a hand signal.
As much as 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, great.
Give you.
So Paradise Community Guilds, you know, as I mentioned earlier, our vision statement is be the community you want to live in. And we enjoyed each other in community prior to the campfire. When the campfire happened, our first instinct was to get back in touch with each other to make sure everybody was okay. That was like the first function of community, was making sure that each other was surviving. So that was all about hands and legs and reaching out and action in the moment. And the next moment for us was trying to figure out how to navigate a very confusing environment with lots of governmental overlays and things upset, living conditions, where are we going to go, what are the resources we need? And so we became each other's eyes and ears. That was another kind of weaving, bringing together our common experience in a way that could make sense. And then following that, we decided to stick to a rhythm that was recognizable to us, that could bring back together a sense of joy and community. And so we kept a rhythm of featuring music events that brought us together for celebration, that brought us together around arts and culture interests. And these things were simultaneous to trying to figure out how to stabilize ourselves in a living place, trying to figure out how to get the needs and resources out or connected in ways that really mattered to people. All of these were efforts of people coming back together to weave. We had experienced a tear, and my mom used to use this stuff called stitch witchery. We put stitch witchery back over our tear to bring us back into relationships so we could figure out what needed to happen next. Paradise Community Guild since then has reached out tendrils to help figure out how we can rebuild our lives here in the area, how we can help people stabilize in a meaningful fashion. I shared at the outset that now suddenly I'm involved in 5 nonprofits, where before I'd been involved in 1. That's just one of the things that's happened. As I've broken down the silo that was Paradise Community Guilds, those walls came down. Now I'm reaching across to connect with other people to figure out how to put our community together. And so we've joined together in 2 big events in 2019. One was the Home Builders Resource Expo, where we reached out and brought in builders from all over, folks like Tony, to help us figure out how to rebuild our town. We participated in a long-term community recovery planning process that was led by Urban Design Associates. And then at the end of the year, we connected the arts and culture community in a meaningful way to produce The Joy Will Find a Way, Experience Butte County's through the Resilience Through the Arts show on November 10th, 2019, which, by the way, we've made a film of that, which is showing at the drive-in in Chico on Sunday evening. Hope you can join us. It's at Miriam Park Drive-In. So that's all about responding to catastrophe after a tear in our community to begin to reweave. It's a natural process that has required action. I think it's something that is the default of who we are as people. It's why we're gathered on this call today. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of our gathering story here in Paradise. That's the 3-minute version.
Alan, did I lose my,
You're
did I
good.
lose my,
We're good.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, so we want to thank you, David. This was an example of the weaving, and so we want to keep our eyes fresh, keep our ears open. What needs to be woven now? We're 2 years in, and we're 2 years in on our anniversary from the campfire, but that's one story, that's one thread. I want to be cognizant of our friends who are abroad, that we're not just living in a moment of anniversary of the campfire. We're living in a moment of many disasters around the world. We're living in a moment of social upheaval. So there's some threads that are universal that we can speak to as a group here and could be put into place, not just in Paradise, but communities around the world. So that's my hope for framing our breakout groups. And with that, I'll pass it to Susan, who has some guidelines for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks. I just wanted to give us a few little tips about these breakout groups because groups sometimes get a little bit out of hand, a little bit out of time, as you were noticing right now. But we have a slide. John, could you put that slide up on the share screen? And basically what we want to say is that there's some basic guidelines to make it go smoothly. And one of this, make sure that everyone in your group has access to the questions that we're asking you to address. So if they're not in the chat room when you go in, go ahead and put them in there so people can see them. And use the Google Jamboard if you can. That link that Bob put in the chat room goes to a Google Jamboard. Go over to the number of the board that you are and post comments if you can. All you have to do is click on a sticky note and you can post a comment, or not. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but that's an option. Please make sure everyone has a chance to be heard. That's the most important thing, especially traditionally marginalized people, but everybody should have, who often feel silenced, right? So be sure that everybody's getting a chance to speak up, and divide the time by the number of people so everybody does have a chance to speak on every question. I know it's hard when you're talking, but try to watch the timer, just because it's hard to sometimes edit ourselves and know how long we're going on. I'm more guilty of that than anybody. So if conversation lags, just go over to the Jamboard and see if anybody's got a comment there that you can pull in, or the chat. The chat room is also usable that way. And just as a participant in the group, if you can be a weaver of word, no connections between comments, reflect on what you're hearing, tie them to your own ideas, just try to respond to each other and weave the ideas together as much as possible. And my metaphor for regeneration is that we over at Chico State we have the Center for Regenerative Agriculture. And to me, that's the idea. If you've seen the film Kiss the Ground, you should. It's a way of returning to the soil what we've taken out of it through agriculture and through growing things. And so we're learning how to do that. And that's my metaphor for regeneration. So I guess we're going to go into breakout groups now and talk about what regeneration means to you. And Julian, you can tell people what they want to do.
Yeah, so just framing it as maybe two questions: what needs to be woven now, and what needs to be regenerated now? Another way to look at it is, how can we be regenerative? Alan, do you have anything to add to that?
No, just that, I would reiterate that these are questions that are scalable. So they can be specific as what's happening within your own community, household. This is a call for Paradise, but I think it's also inviting in other communities. So yeah, explore together. There will be a facilitator in your group to help move the conversation forward. So you won't be alone.
Okay, John, ready for breakout?
I sent you a private chat asking if we can be in touch. I don't know if you have access to the chat session there. It looks to me like you've joined by phone, but if you see my personal message to you in the chat, I've given you my contact information. I would love to hear more about your product.
is giving email.
So we're continuing with the question, but in a new group. Is that how it's going, David?
I'll defer to Julian on that question. I think we're going
Yeah,
to start
it's
a harvest.
It's over to Bob for the harvest.
Yeah, I think we all may be experiencing the phenomena of too many questions, too many breakouts, too little time, and a sense of rush. So before we even step into the harvest, I just want to invite us all to settle for a second and breathe and look on this. If you're not on gallery view, switch to gallery view and see this this collection of lovely people who have said, you know, I don't know what the hell is going to go on there this morning, but I want to be in community with people from Paradise as we talk about what's now and what's next. And I'd like to invite just maybe 2 or 3 people to share what really stood out for you in your breakout room. And then we're going to ask Jill, who's been listening deeply to everything that we've been saying, to bring forward what she has been hearing and drawing this morning. But first, let's hear from 2 or 3 people. What really popped out that you want to make sure everybody in this room gets a chance to hear? Please be brief. Please be clear. Please have joy.
Yeah, I would love to just kind of reflect some of the themes from our group. And I was just so impressed by, you know, everyone's desire and acknowledgement of unity and oneness, and that really it is the relationships that we have with each other, with businesses, with our land, with the schools, with the administration, you know, that those relationships are really what is so important, and finding our common mission and goal and focusing on that and really integrating everybody's energy and passions and talents, because every person, regardless of who they are or where they are, what they're doing, has something to offer, you know, and it really takes all of our voices to find solutions. So
Thanks, Geneva.
that was inspiring.
Let's hear from a couple others.
Mike, would you want to sum up what we did in our group?
I don't know if I'm the best candidate to do that, but I can just hear the feeling that everyone has about this place called Paradise. And I know that, as one of the participants said, it's a very small group at the moment, but I know there are a lot of people that are interested in getting back to life in Paradise. And yeah, it's just inspiring to hear that there's that much excitement, and I'm sure it'll grow.
Great. Thank you, Mike. I was caught by something that Dan said, and was talking about the, you know, on the one hand, there's the people who have been in Paradise for a long time, and then there's the people who are feeling called to Paradise now, and the weaving of the old Paradisians and the new Paradisians.
And really, and in the larger sense, I just wanted to say that, you know, it's for all disaster affected communities. I think there's a real push to go back to the old, to what was there before. And that can really almost have a diminishing effect, because there's such an opportunity for the new. There's such a regenerative opportunity to like just completely re-envision, what could be out of what was. And I think that's part of what we talked about.
Cool.
I wonder, Peggy, if you wouldn't mind sharing with the group what you shared with us, because I think it's an important voice as we think about rebuilding our community.
Well, many of us have not been able to come back to Paradise on a regular basis. I still have my property up there. I don't know if I'll ever move back. It's still up in the air. I'm still looking into all kinds of things. But I still want to be a part of the community. I actually, since the fire, have felt more that way than I did before, although I lived there for over 30 years. I feel more of a connection. I've met more people. I've made new friends. I'd like to stay connected and help in any way possible for those who do go back.
Great.
There was another theme that I thought was very important in our group that surfaced, and Edward, I think you can speak to that. Geraldine could too, but if you talk about the cross-generational thing we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're muted, Edward.
We need young people willing to do the work, and we need the elders to lead us. So I believe that we should have bottom up action, and we should begin in our front yards and our backyards. Because ultimately the bigger picture is created by the smaller images.
Well, that's kind of happened, the elders leading the younger people. And the younger people are dancing in the streets this morning all across, not just the country, but the world. And we come out of a very dark period. And I take a risk at saying this, not amongst us. I have a feeling that we are on the same page here, but with the election of Joe Biden, it changes. It puts us in a whole other place from where we've been the last 4 years. Yeah, Bob is nodding. Yeah. It's been a long 4 years. I got to Paradise 5 months before the fire, and I was a first-time homeowner, and this was my dream. And I was determined to continue the dream, and we are now back in our new house on our old property, and I'm blessed. I realize there's a big chasm in this area. People
So,
who
Jamie,
are of like mind.
Let me interrupt a
People
second.
who care about the things that many of you care about.
Can you hear me?
And then there are people that are in denial about that. And it's hard. It's really hard.
Thanks, Jamie.
Feeling like you can't be outspoken in certain places because you could be attacked for,
Great.
your
Thank you. I want
beliefs
to,
or your lifestyle or whatever, but
just quickly jump off that. I want to quickly jump off that and
momentous day. It's a historic day, and I'm joining you all late because
Thanks, Jamie.
Okay, sorry. Thanks, Jamie.
And before we ask Jill to come in, I just want to say that, you know, this whole question of older leadership, younger leadership, I got to say, I am much more excited with the leadership that Alan is bringing forward and that Charles is bringing forward and that Geneva is bringing forward and Annie and Ida. And for those of us who are older, I see our job as to stand side by side and to support from the back and to be deeply engaged. We need intergenerational leadership, and especially we need younger leadership. So that's my commercial plug for all of us to be in a different quality of relationship with each other. Jill, can you tell us what you're hearing and seeing? And let's, John, can you spotlight Jill's visual?
Thank you so much. It is an honor to be here with everybody today, deeply listening and hearing people's stories. So the first image that was really clearly described was the desire to reweave the social fabric, to make these threads visible, and as a community start to reimagine through this weaving motion. There is a collective trauma. There is a story of collective trauma that needs to be expressed and told. And somehow in that process of telling that story, we're moving into a phase of regeneration where there will be a form of leadership that grows out of the awareness that is built around this. It's like an empathic, creative form of leadership that's growing. This was one of the breakout rooms. The objects, the sacred objects that were helping people to feel both alive and grounded were a journal, a person's animals, her cat, the music, the actual sheets of music that this person was learning and connecting with other people through. This beautiful statement of, I am a regenerative artist, came forward, and that was very strong. And then the symbol of the seed and how a great tree grows out of something very small and delicate. There was a desire to see paradise now and to see the trees, to see the meadow, to see the natural environment, to start to see our relationships with the land, to see the bonds and connections that we have. And this desire to make meaning together, and through the gathering, we're regenerating by making meaning together. And then we started to talk about nesting systems, so systems side by side that weave together and that start the awareness that my system and your system connect. So starting to see how these energies flow and that we actually have to create a regenerative environment. And arts and culture and design and vision and stories and all of these actions that are being taken to both stabilize people and also bring joy back to people is helping to create this environment. And it's not just for your community, it's also for the entire world. There's a sense of universality to it, and there is a sense of this is bigger than us. And this was a deeper dive into weaving regeneration. And again, the sense of community engagement, bringing people together to heal the displacement through food and music, through shared environments like concerts and festivals, so people can see and feel the interconnection and they can share their stories and really sense into the now where the new will emerge. And then finally, the desire for acknowledgement the desire for unity, the desire for intergenerational healing and renewal, the desire for youth leadership, and to find common goals to move towards this new dream. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jill.
Really beautiful, Jill.
It's wonderful to see those words popping out and the invitation that's in all of them. Alan, I want to pass it to you to take us into our next phase.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, everybody. We've moved right along, and now we'll have a little bit of a break. And in that break, we can continue the conversation. That would be one of the options. So stick around if you feel like you have some questions. I'll be here to answer any of those or be in conversation with you. And then there will also be a breakout room for some music and just self-stretching. I'll probably do that anyways. And then we're gonna come back and we'll start up with session 2. So please do stick around. We're gonna step more into visioning a future. Now that we've established what our ingredients are and what how we can weave things together, we're going to start looking at what's possible from that work. So please do stick around and join us at 10:45. We'll be back here. So
I just wanted to say too that the breakout rooms there are 3 breakout rooms, and one of them will have music from local musicians. So you can go to that breakout room. That's A, and the other one has Annie leading us in some stretches, and that's breakout room B. And then breakout room C is going to just, we're 3, I guess it's 1, 2, and 3. Will be a conversation room where you can just go to have a conversation about what you've been experiencing.
And once
Sorry, I
again,
just want to
how do we
clarify
go
that.
to the breakout room?
Yeah, how do we go there?
You're
And
gonna
can we
show up.
switch once we decide?
You'll be able to see do you have a little message now that says join a breakout room?
I think John's gonna set us up for that. And
At
here's
the bottom of my screen, I have a thing that says join a breakout room. And so look for that thing and click on it, and it will give you a choice.
Yeah, I see a box, the 4 squares that said breakout rooms, and you can click on that, and then there's a room and you can select the stretching conversation. I
There you
don't see a
go.
music room, but
Where's the music room?
I'm not
There-
seeing
This is the music room. So
Oh,
I'm
this
now
is-
going
thank
to
you.
start the music now.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thanks, John.
Hello, welcome back, everybody. I hope you got a chance to, even if you weren't in one of the stretch rooms, you got to stretch anyways. I had a little bit of trouble finding my correct route for breakout groups, so I apologize if you did as well. But we are here together again, so thanks for sticking with us. We do have part 2 starting up. And with that, I think I will turn it over to Mr. David Leon Zink to open up part 2, session 1 of part 2.
There we go. Using a big screen, I couldn't find my mouse. Hey, everybody. I hope you had a good break. You know, our community is loaded with fine artists of many kinds, and many of them have been at work to describe their experience of paradise prior to the fire, during that huge catastrophe that changed our lives forever, its immediate aftermath, our recovery since then, and this collective energy that we've had toward visioning a new future together. And I feel very glad, and I probably own an unearned pride in saying that I am friends with one such creative artist. His name is Alan Myers. Alan has made an exceptional 7-minute film, which we are about to feature, A Message from the Future of Paradise. And I invite you to relax your body and take a breath and clear your mind for a moment of things that are around us, and just allow yourself to immerse in this 7-minute story as it situates our moment and brings us together around some ideas for the future. And we're going to want to discuss after the movie some of what our experience of the 7-minute watch was, and perhaps build on our own ideas for our future together. So with that, shall we pivot to the film?
It's not hard for me to go back to November 8th, 2018, even though it's 50 years ago now. I remember it like it was yesterday. On that day, everything changed. A massive wildfire destroyed my hometown of Paradise, California in a single day. The fire jumped from canyon to canyon, incinerating 19,000 structures, displacing nearly 50,000 people, and ultimately taking 86 lives. Without any warning, the residents of Paradise and neighboring communities were engulfed in what one could only liken to hell. Back then, most folks were living in isolation at best, and at worst were afraid of their neighbors. We believed we had to fend for ourselves. It was the culture of the time. Yet, in this moment of absolute disaster, we were able to see beyond that false narrative. We were all in this together. We came off that ridge in grace, picking up neighbors and stray pets, hoping to save as many as we could. Homes in neighboring communities were opened up to us. The entire world looked upon the survivors with empathy and generosity. Donations poured in. The world rallied around Paradise. This level of generosity and neighborly love became a beacon of hope and a foundational piece in rebuilding our town. The moment was ripe to burst forth with a new vision for what was possible. It was a turning point. Back then, communities all over the world were living in disaster. There was an opioid epidemic. Millions of people lacked clean water, nutritious food, or health care. Political divisiveness was absolutely toxic and hedged towards full-on violence at times. The dominant narrative of the media pushed stories of separation, suspicion, fear, and distrust. It was all too tempting to simply blame someone else. Everywhere you looked, the solution offered was more and more consumption, as if we could consume indefinitely to distract ourselves from the chaos and uncertainty. Those were dark times. We all knew things were broken, but we were unable to make big changes. The campfire forced us to look into the ashes of the past and reflect. For many of us, we had been released from a future we did not choose. Did we really want to recreate our broken system? Instead, we spoke of our shared values and imagined the possibilities. We identified nature and community as being essential aspects of life in Paradise. From there, we set forth about building a town that reflected those common values. We took bold steps. We'd lost so much already that we had nothing left to lose. We shook off the label of victims and took charge of our own recovery. Instead of outside workers, it was community members who lost their homes and jobs who were employed in the cleaning and rebuilding efforts. We prioritized housing for survivors so they could be a part of creating our new town. Natural building techniques used local materials and helped our homes resist fire. And it happened in what then was considered the old-fashioned way, neighbors coming together, barn raisins, our grandparents called them. We remembered how good it felt to grow and eat local food. Noble Orchards reopened soon after the fire and inspired us to support local farms. Orphan land was transitioned into community gardens where we could feed our families and talk with neighbors. We celebrated our healthier bodies, land, economy, and community. Ridgebucks even came back into circulation. Folks took pride in spending Paradise's currency at newly opened businesses, farms, and utilities. We had a thriving local economy. Fewer people were commuting to Chico since there was plenty to do in Paradise. We needed to mend our relationship with our land. Working closely with Maidu tribe leaders, we created a network of wildlife trails that served not only as a food forest, but also a fire break. We used permaculture to support healthy ecosystems. Their wisdom taught us how to coexist with fire using controlled burning as a tool. The old energy company, PG&E, has long since gone bankrupt and shut down. It was through their neglect and focus on profits that faulty equipment sparked the Camp Fire and many others throughout California. They had put off necessary repairs for decades and instead gave financial bonuses to their corporate executives. All the while, thousands of poor and uninsured folks struggled to get back on their feet. We knew we needed to be self-sufficient in our own energy. Our very lives depended on it. So we built our own microgrid, erecting wind turbines to harness the energy of high winds and installing solar farms like the one still in use along Skyway. We generated and distributed electricity locally. Community members were employed to build and manage our self-sufficient energy network. Everything about our energy system aligned with our values of nature and community. Our town became safer, more independent, and more harmonious with nature. Our actions were documented and compiled into a handbook for communities rebuilding from disaster. The Vision Center within the Paradise Gold Nugget Museum hosted students from around the world who came to learn about our journey, and we saw many towns follow in our footsteps. Curiously, the progress within Paradise felt more like returning to our town's roots. Our homes, food system, energy, and economy all drew from and replenished our local resources. We became self-sufficient as we shepherded the bounty of our land. When I look back to November 8th, 2018, I still feel our immense loss. But I also know it was a start of something incredible.
We can go off mute to say yay. Oh,
Yay!
Isn't that a
Amen.
fine film?
Hallelujah.
Very inspiring.
just how wonderful to see that again.
That's a great movie.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, and thanking everybody that helped make that possible. Many of you are on this call. My sweetheart Annie Mellon co-wrote that with me. She's here. And mentors and friends, Bob, David, Julian. Thank you. And really, it's the story was created essentially out of a listening process that took place with UDA, Urban Design Associates, when our values were collectively identified. So this film is a map based on those values, where we came together, no matter political background, and we identified what are the values that are essential to Paradise. And from that, I started to imagine if those values were embedded in every decision that we made, what kind of community would we have? And that was the genesis of this film. So I understand that it's a dynamic process, and we're not stuck on any one vision, but it's moving. So I hope for our breakout groups that we can discuss some of the things that might have been shown in the film, but more than that, we discuss what we would want to see, what are our values, and how could they show up in a rebuild process. We'll be going into breakout groups, and there'll be the jam boards again, where we can talk about essentially some key questions. And I think Bob will be able to frame this next phase better than me. So I'll hand it over to him, but I thank you all for being here and for being willing to step into this exploratory process. It's really out of a deep love that I step into this work. It's a town that shaped who I am. And so this is how I feel I can give back. So thank you.
Thanks. So I think, Julian, you're supposed to take us into the breakout rooms, aren't you?
Yeah, I think Julian was going to do the framing.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I guess this is more like a relay race. Well, it's not even a race. It's just a regenerative relay. So we have 4 questions, and we'd really like each group to treat these questions quite seriously. And we're going to allow about 7.5 minutes per question. So our time is going to be pretty good. We have 4 questions. So we're in the breakout groups for 30 minutes. So the first question is, who is Paradise now? So it's just going around the group, letting everyone have a say in what is Paradise now. What it could be physically, it could be emotionally, it could be geologically, any way you want to frame it. Make the discussion as rich as possible. And then after that, the next question is, what kinds of weaving does this film evoke? Right. So now we're going back to the film, and we're saying, what did it do to me? What did it spark? What did it make visible that I wasn't aware of, the potential? So what kinds of weaving does the film evoke? 7.5 minutes on that question. Then the next question is, what or who could Paradise be in 5 years? What do we see? What can we imagine? What can we co-imagine? And then the last question is pushing it to where Alan's film pushed it. What could Paradise be in 50 years? And in some ways, that's sort of playing with a Native American. So often they talk about doing things for 7 generations into the future, and how often we are so short-term, immediate results, and not imaginative about what the potential of future has. So that last question is about that. So 4 questions, 7.5 minutes per question.
May I just say that I put them in the chat box, so that if you would want to copy them now and take them into your break room with you, so that you could put them in the chat room there, so you can kind of keep track of them, that would be a good thing to do. So they're right in the chat box right now.
Awesome, thank you. So copy and paste is a nice way to do it. John, please put us in our breakout rooms. Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. I have to say I'm coming in with a bit of a satisfied glow from hanging out with Lori and Donna and Nancy for the last half hour as the time rushed by. Susan and I are going to host you into a bit of a harvest and then see what Jill has listened and drawn from her listening as well. I'll start off with the same question that I've used before, and that is what did you hear in this last breakout that you want to be sure to remember? What did you hear that you want to be sure to remember, which needs to be spoken into this place right now?
Well, since I'm taking notes, I wanted to speak up and say, we had a lovely conversation in my group, and one of the things that Majdi came from Davis and talked about opportunities that are inherent in our area. In carbon sequestration, and we have so much biomass here that's going to burn anyway at one point here in Northern California that that some of that would be an interesting way to move forward with power and would create a lot of local job creation. But he also talked about things like artisanal carpentry, where tourists would come and get things made out of burned trees. And I said, yeah, we've got plenty of those. So, and a timeshare, building timeshares. So people that are like this place like Peggy, would have an opportunity to come back and spend some time in Paradise sometimes. So we had some lovely ideas for how Paradise could develop in the future. There's some other ideas.
I'd like to mention a couple ideas that really came from Peggy. One is she's gone online and found a resurgence in the social, media of people reconnecting and really recreating a paradise that's not really very visible. It's in social media. It's certainly not entirely represented here. It's much bigger than what's here. That's one thing. So an interesting thing. So how do we make that visible to everybody? The extent to which this fabric, the social fabric, is actually being rewoven right now. It's not visible particularly. And the second was that many of the people that are leaving and selling their land are actually trying to find, they don't want to sell them to the big developers because they know what will happen. They're trying to find people that want to buy in, grassroots people. So the question is there a way of making a kind of a central forum for the people that want to sell their land to others who really want to come in and create the kind of community they want rather than to some developer? There must be some way of making that more transparent to everybody and actually resist the rapaciousness of these big economic forces.
So I just wanted to say that there was only one other person in my breakout group. It was Dan. For some reason, it didn't work out. And I have a new friend called Dan.
I want to share a couple things using the Jam board that we were on. The concluding question that we came to was, can Paradise be one of those oases of sanity? Is it actually possible to create something new here? And Lori talking about how I get a chance to recreate now, to go slow, not to jump in too fast, to take my time and see how I can thrive in a different way. This sense of working together on urban development and nature and wildlife thriving together. How do we weave it together now? Somebody else asking the question of how do the new people and the old people get woven together? How do we be in this place where, in some ways, Donna was talking about her friends who have moved back and that they're cleaning up from the old and that it's home, and yet it's not. And that my friend is the same, but not. They know they're on their street, but it's different. There's this sense of being home and not at the same time. And so this question of how do we work with that old and new in a different pace, in a way that's actually creating and inviting sanity.
I was struck by Alan's reporting a visit to Fukushima and the constant message of the folks he met there, regardless of their role or where they were, was to be patient.
What it was brought up as, folks even now are asking Paradise, just with this last sequence of fires, what's next for us? Talent, Phoenix, and other communities. And we're still very early on, but I was reminded by that trip to Tohoku, where 11 years out, from fisherman to mayor, the message was the same. Take your time, go slowly, and do it together. And that's some wisdom that I have felt in this on our own journey as well. So
Just want to add to that, Alan. It was in 2007 that Greenberg in Kansas was leveled, totally destroyed in a tornado. And what they said now 13 years ago is, we're not going to build the old Greenberg. We're going to build Greenberg as the greenest city in the United States. And they're not there yet, but they're still engaged in building out that dream. It takes time, it takes patience. Another town that Alan visited, Onagawa, where they decided that we're going to make this town of 10,000 that was obliterated by the tsunami, we're going to make this the most beautiful and the safest town in Japan. And this is going away from Paradise, but I got to share this story. And they said, how do we do that? And they decided, we're going to take those lovely mountaintops that surround our town, and we're going to remove the tops of those mountains. That's where we're going to build the residential area. That's where we're going to live. And the tsunamis are never going to come there. And then a whole plan comes out of that. And it was that vision of a different possibility that allowed people to continue living in this little tiny temporary housing for the last 9 years, because that residential area is not built yet, but they know it's coming, that the mountaintops have been removed. The roads up to the mountaintops are in. The structures are starting to be built, but they had that vision of a different possibility of how they wanted to be together with safety and beauty. And that's the, and it took, it took a while to get to that vision, because there were some people that was like, let's get back to the way it was, let's clean up all this shit and just build it back, and we'll do it as fast as we can. And other people said, no, let's not do that. Let's figure out what we want and how we create it together. And even 2 years later in Paradise, that's the question here.
May I ask?
I'm interested in, from Linda.
Yeah, I'm so interested in everything you all have to say, but it just came to my mind because I've seen design competitions in architecture, which is my background, where you give a group of people this question and then they compete as to the best results. And some of them are designed like you give a damn, creating refugee housing, in these places around the world. That's the one I was thinking of. But I wonder if you created a competition, like say Almeida Fire has some funding we can find, and create a competition where designers come in, because their background in expertise is all out there. We just need to pull their design thoughts together, and they could maybe come up with some good proposals for us for the rebuilding. So it's a greener, sustainable, fire resistant, meets all the equitable challenges that we have with the low income and affordable and co-housing. I wonder if we did it as a competition, it could be something people could come up with. But I'm going to think about it more.
Linda, I might want to talk with you about that later, because 6 organizations in Paradise right now are talking about coming together to build an arts and culture complex that we would want to turn to our community for creative placemaking ideas that we could surface and send to a designer to realize in an overall campus. So that's one model for Paradise in 5 years or 50 years that we'd like to see come together. I wanted to ask Charles Brooks, you made a very good comment earlier about our being the new pioneers, and you had a great way of weaving together the different aspects of the different points of view about how we should rebuild our community. And I wondered if you maybe want to share your thought about that with us again.
Every now and then, a blind squirrel can find a nut. And I think I had that moment, David, and I'll try and recall it as best I can, but I look at it as right now, the folks that are going back and working hard to get their homes rebuilt, they're kind of the pioneers that are setting the pace and setting the resource needs from labor to regionally available building materials, that type of thing. They're setting the pace for what's going to come for the next wave of people moving to our community. And at the same time, it's that there's so many different perspectives in our community as far as how we should build back. And we need to make sure that we foster the environment that allows those perspectives to be heard and recognized and brought to the table, because I think one thing's the right way to move forward, that doesn't mean that your perspective, David, on a housing construction type does not warrant the discussion. And so we just need to foster that as we look at, as pioneers of rebuilding this community, that over time we don't lose that openness and willingness to discuss these topics and focus on the goals, but also make sure we're willing to listen to each other as we go forward. That we just have that opportunity to do that now. And we've had that, like, Alan was talking about immediately after the fire, how people just came together. And I still feel like that togetherness is there as long as we're intentional about making sure that continues to happen. And we don't just shut out a voice because we don't agree with it. We make sure that's at least given a platform and given the ability to kind of be brought into the conversation, because everybody brings value to a situation and a conversation if we're willing to listen to it.
I think that's a great point, Charles. And one of the things we talked about in our group is we also talked about Greenburgh, Kansas. And what's amazing about Greenburgh, Kansas is, that was a Republican mayor that turned the town green, which is not something that that you usually think of. But I think one of the things we've seen over the last week, particularly, is how destructive and how debilitating this polarity in our culture, in our society can be. And certainly, there's a model where you can take people who are, on opposite sides and find their commonality. What do we commonly believe in? And one of the things I think that the Greenburgh, Kansas group did was they made a pitch for a green town based on economics. You know, you can save money doing this, and that appealed to everybody. You know, so it doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be a green town either. That's for sure. But I do think there are ways that we can find commonalities that weave our disparate perspectives together.
Can I speak up?
Yes, please
Can you
do.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Well, we got between Medford, Phoenix, and Talent, there's a 20% below the poverty line. And I feel there's a lot of folks that come up here and do the work that other people won't do, pick the fruit, all sorts of things. And, you know, those folks have lost, and many of them don't have insurance, living in really poor conditions because of economics, not because they want to. And I think, you know, I'm rethinking my job right now is to, what can I do for Talent in Phoenix? You know, make myself useful here first. And I'm hoping, it hasn't really happened yet. I'm hoping that Oregon will be able to learn from what we went through in Paradise rather than reinvent the wheel. That's it.
If I could add, only from the background work that I do when I go overseas, we do go into disaster zones and do our construction and building of the healthcare. But there's always a master plan. We never start any kind of construction until we have the entire concept of what we really want to do. So we've taken into all these aspects. So that's what takes so much time in collecting all the people. But you really do have to have the entire process thought about before you start the small pieces.
So when are you moving up here?
I'm here. I'm in Ashland right now. But
really?
Oh, yeah. So I see your name, but I don't know which organization you work with.
I'm just helping out. I'm not with an organization.
And join with me, because I'm with about 3 or 4, and I never know who to say, who I'm working with when I go into meetings, you know.
Okay.
So look for my email, and then we'll connect.
Okay, Linda. I'm getting your name.
Yeah.
Let's invite Jill to share with us what she has listened through all of this, and then we'll have time for a final round of gifts and reflections. Wonder if you could spotlight Jill, John.
Okay, thank you so much. So we started off with, we had a very small group, and there was an individual from outside of the community who's very interested in what's going on in the community and was wanting to contribute to the conversation. And I wonder about integrating outside voices in terms of just the process that you're going through. So how do we weave? And there was first a description of where Paradise is now, where there's a lot of burnt trees, there's a lot of empty space, and there's this sense of devastation. But now there's this opportunity to weave together different points of view, bring left and right together, find a common focus, and bring forward some new values. Oh yes, okay, so this relationship between society and environment, there are many people focusing on this area, this whole framework of how do we become more integrated, sustainable people, societies, and communities. And so there was this sense of this individual really wanting to contribute his knowledge and expertise to this conversation, and he had many different ideas. One of them was developing this framework for a circular economy and reimagining how we develop communities through concepts of sustainability, the one climate, and really building in solidarity the motivation to really reimagine what is possible. He talked about transforming threats into opportunities and the possibility of creating a biomass power plant that would lead to a micro-circular economy, creating local jobs, building an integrated strategy to turn fuel into energy and bring investment into the community. The need to offset carbon and to really start to integrate the sustainable model, bringing together visions of local production, and also just a larger vision, not only for Paradise, but that's maybe connected to other communities who are working to transform their economy. And then the other suggestion was to map out local community skills. So go through a process of mapping community skills and get a sense of who's in the community, what their skills are. One of the ideas was to have a timeshare so people could come and visit the community, whether they're from there or whether they're from outside the community, to get a sense of what's going on. And the other concept that was brought forward was to transform this burnt wood into furniture and to create a microeconomy around artisanal carpentry that would bring people to the community, and that might attract new diverse people to the community. And it would also transform the narrative into something that's regenerative. So bringing forward this new vision and retelling the story of the community. The other thing that was brought up was that Paradise was a very affordable community for many people, and there is a real concern that as the rebuild happens, that it might not be affordable anymore, but that perhaps that affordable living, that was a part of the story before the fire, and that it's important potentially to bring that aspect of the story forward into the new story. So again, this idea that there were elements of the story of the community before the fire that could be brought forward. This sense of bringing new and old together, new relationships, old relationships, they're changing. New friends are coming in. New friends want to lend their power. They want to belong to this community, even though they're not a part of it. There's something drawing people to this story, to this community. There was a sense of wanting to make this story, make Paradise more visible so that people can see what's going on, and to potentially build a central platform for people to come to witness and to again belong to this process, potentially with timeshares and just the sense of thriving together, and also the sense of a different pace, that the opportunity to create a different pace that's more sane, that's more humane. And again, this sense of we need to have a powerful vision to hold people to the process, and that it is possible for people to commit to a long-term vision over time if it's really clear, and if they feel like they're a part of it, and if they feel like they belong to it. Oh yeah, and this other aspect of being a new pioneer, that's a beautiful image of that's bringing the new and the old together, and again, cultivating this environment, integrating these polarities, coming to common terms, using common language, remembering that people have shared values, and to acknowledge the differences, but that in those differences creates the momentum that brings this new placemaking environment forward. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jill.
That was awesome, Jill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Wow.
Music. We're going to have music for an hour after we're going to wrap up in for a minute or two here. But I'll invite you to stick around to listen to some music. We have Mark McKinnon here, and he's going to be playing for us. And then John Michael's son is going to be playing for us, and then David Zink will be playing for us. So please stick around if you have the time. Bring your lunch to the front of the laptop and listen to some awesome music from right here on the Ridge.
And Alan, you're going to close and tell us what's happening tomorrow? Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you, Jill. That was really wonderful to be able to see, we can get so up into our headspace that the illustrations help really ground what we've been talking about. And yeah, these are conversations that are continuing to evolve. It's a dynamic process. I keep saying that. We're going to continue this tomorrow. So I really hope that you all come back. It's not a repeat. It is a continuation. There is a journey that we've been working on for the last, I would say 2 years at this point, but really getting focused on this event for the last couple months, taking what we've experienced from our different perspectives on the Board of Regenerating Paradise as we listen to the community, and we create this event for us to come together and explore together what's possible. So please come back tomorrow, and yeah, get a little bit of time outside. And part of our festival last year was celebrating local music. It was conversations, music, and art. And we're hoping to provide that in some way this year online. Last year we had the wonderful music of Mark McKinnon, David Leon Zink, Susan Dobra, John Michaelson, and they're gonna play us some music this afternoon. As you know, we have our conversations, we have our visuals from Jill, thank you. And there's stories and lessons in the art of music. So a lot of these songs are original pieces created out of this experience that have their own wisdom within them. So if you're a musical inclined person, this is an opportunity to hear some of those lessons as well.
And what time is it tomorrow, Alan?
Tomorrow we will be, thank you, Julian. Tomorrow is at 2 to 5 p.m. There will also be a break similarly as there was today, but tomorrow 2 to 5. I also just want to let folks know who are on the Ridge today that there's also a native plant giveaway. If you signed up for that, it's happening this afternoon, and it's also happening tomorrow morning. We're working in partnership with them where we're taking morning session today and afternoon session tomorrow. And if you want to reach me, I'm going to put my email in the comments. If you have any needs or questions before then, please feel free to reach out. Also, if you have ideas that you want to start moving forward right away, if something sparked you today, please feel free to reach out. Invite that in. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely come back tomorrow. We're going to build on this.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, John. John's going to take us over to music and get us going with Mark McKinnon.
Mark, are you here? This is Mark McKinnon, who is he's the at the head of Hey Penny Bridge, which is his band that he hasn't been able to play with since March because of COVID. But he's also a very, very talented solo singer-songwriter, and he's going to share with us some music today. He's also a retired professor from Butte College and in English, and was really one of one of the people that started the Tico News and Review. Lots of other things I could say about Mark, but I think if you take the time to give a listen, he speaks through his music very, very clearly. So, so Mark, are you here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes. That's just great.
I don't know if that's good news for you or bad, but here I am. Hey, hi, everybody. It's so good to see you. I mean, I got to see Susan for the first time in months and yesterday, and now I get to look at some beautiful faces. My dear brother, David Zink. So good to see your beautiful face again. And Alan, whom I've known since he was a kid. So I'll sing 2 or 3 songs and fill up the 20-minute slot. And if you want me to go shorter, give me the old. I know that a couple of years ago, my song Just Breathe about my and my wife Wendy's direct experiences in the fire kind of caught fire, so to speak, in a lot of ways. And I don't really want to sing that song for a while. It's too traumatic. So I'm going to go with some recent material I've written that were slated for the new CD on for Hey Penny Bridge that has been suspended, like in so many things on planet Earth, indefinitely. But anyway, it's a day for a lot of celebration, and it's bittersweet for a lot of us from the Ridge. But anyway, here goes. This is a song I wrote about some of my experiences in Ireland. One night at Cormac's Chapel, as the evening sky turned gold, you told me love was just a skin to shed when it grew old. Beneath the rock of Cashel ruins, I stood trembling in surprise at the sharp edge of your razor voice and the darkness in your eyes. Whoa, 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 whoa. In the brigades of Tipperary, I'm a soldier stout and brave. When you turned into a shadow, I was helpless and afraid. Here where Ireland's kings were mighty, and good Patrick stood and prayed. I was wounded by your distant heart as you turned and walked away. I see the ghosts, I see the ghosts inside the fortress. Oh, they're making their final last stand. I'm broken by your keen indifference. Oh, I'm just another fallen man. I was once a happy rover in green fields I did roam. In another distant lifetime, in a village I called home. Oh, sing me a pretty love song, I'm in need of some good cheer. Help me believe in the impossible as I guard the great frontier. I see the ghosts, I see the ghosts inside the fortress. Oh, I'm making their final last stand.
another fallen man. Oh, 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 in the misty morning graveyard, neath these fading crosses of stones, with my gun here at the ready, I walk this hill alone. Sometimes I think I look for you, but then I never do. You're just something in the mirror, receding from my view. I see the ghosts, I see the ghosts inside the fortress. Oh, I'm making their final last stand. I'm broken by your keen indifference. Oh, I'm just another fallen man. I see the ghosts, I see the ghosts inside the fortress. Oh, they're making their final last stand. I'm broken by your keen indifference. Oh, I'm just another fallen man. Oh, I'm just another fallen man. Oh, I'm just another fallen man.
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. That was awesome.
I sang this for the first time yesterday as kind of a dry run through to Susan and John Michael on a sound check, but I'm going to try it for reals today. It's another Irish song set in one of my beautiful, lovely places on the planet. I should say more than me, especially my wife, Wendy, who is, again, the target of this song called True Companion. And it's one of those things that we musicians who have been isolated, I was able to write a song by myself. It gets pretty boring, as all of us know, being by ourselves. So it's a late addition on my song list for the new CD. So I'm going to put on my old man glasses just in case for insurance policy and make sure I need lyric support. Dingle's on the west coast of Ireland. In fact, Charles Lindbergh, who was quite the American fascist, became famous for flying solo across the Atlantic, as you all know. And after his perilous and pretty, damn heroic flight across the Atlantic as the first person to go solo, his first sight of land after all those many, many hours was Dingle, Ireland. That's when he knew he was home free.
The summer rains have come and gone. The ocean sings an old
ebb tide song as I stroll home with my love along the sleepy Dingle Harbor side. The scarlet vines of fuchsia shine. The church bells of St. James begin to chime as we make our easy way beneath the painted County Kerry skies. The end of a fine, soft day along the wild Atlantic way, lost forever, blinded by the sight of the bonny, bonny blue of her eyes. A pint or two or three at Dick Mac's pub, glad we took another chance at love as we lay together on the sleigh head high above the Blasket Isles. I'm circling round the sun, oh, with my true companion, walking in the sweet, loving light of her gentle ways. Music everywhere I go with my true companion. Whisper of two hearts, oh, these are our dancing days. I swear that it's a mystery why she ended up with someone like me, but she says she knew from the start I was her only one. We didn't have a choice, says she. We're traveling through eternity. Our love rides every breath of wind, every ocean wave, every ray of sun. She's where the light begins. Oh, she's my true companion. The bowers and the blues all along our blessed traveling ways. And the chances that she takes to be my true companion, the difference that she makes, oh, she's my New Year's Day. So the story goes, my friend, that everything must have an end, and every river runs to the sea with the promise of a gentle night. But if forever can be found, it's here in sleepy Dingle Town. With my love as St. James bells ring the Epsard song tonight. I'm circling round the sun, oh, with my true companion. I'm walking in the sweet, gentle light of her loving ways. There's music everywhere I go with my true companion, and the whisper of two hearts, oh, these are our dancing days. She's where the light begins, oh, she's my true companion. The bowers and the blooms all along our blessed traveling ways. The chances that she takes, oh, to be my true companion, and the difference that she makes, oh, she's my New Year's Day. Oh, my true companion. Oh, she's my New Year's Day. day. Oh, my true companion. Thank you. How are we doing time-wise? One more?
Well, you have time for one more song.
All right. Well, this is a brand new one. And I think it's apropos. I was, like a lot of you, I was anxious about just all this stuff on the planet and Trump and virus and isolation. And I thought, God, I got to do something about this, not only for singing, but also for my own therapy. So this is called Into the Light. And I've already got my head wrapped around about all your harmonies, David and Susan, and do the doo-wop chorus. And I think it'll be a really fun song. So. This will be the in fact, it's rare time. I actually wrote it for 3 different tempos for different moods, but this is going to be kind of the mid mood. There's a search and rescue team out somewhere on the sea in the pouring rain, looking for a miracle lost in the widening gyre. It's a 7 seas alarm, a red flag warning calling everybody's name. It's time to volunteer, 'cause the mothership, she's on fire. The Arctic ice is melting, there's blisters on the planet, it's time to get on board. There's no hiding place from these fires in the gasoline. No more waiting for Godot, no more wishing on a star for it all to go away. It's like curing a migraine headache with the blade of a guillotine. There are voices in my heart, ghosts inside my head, and they won't let go. And no matter where I turn, the shadows just seem to spread. But there's a woman in my heart, she won't give up, she keeps on telling me, oh honey, you'll feel so much better if you step back into the light. There's no need to be so lonely. Step back into the light. Into the light. I was shuffling down some mean streets, singing a D flat harmony, with the wolves in the mountains howling their redemption song. I feel like Lazarus, I jumped up, did an old soft shoe. My heart was full of grace. Gave thanks to the North Star for showing me the way to keep on keeping on. There are places where I've been, where angels fit a tread, and every road was strange. And the search and rescue teams figured I was a goner for good. But this woman in my heart, she won't give up, she keeps on telling me, oh honey, you'll feel so much better if you step back into the light. Oh baby, no need to be so lonely, step back into the light. Step into the light, ooh, the light that's shining everywhere. Into the light, where impossible dreams come true.
the light. Don't you think it's time we all join hands, step back into the light, into the light. Now I'm heading down to Duffy's where she said she'd meet me this Friday afternoon. If I finally figured out the difference between day and night, and make damn sure I think my Balron's sitting on that session of hot Irish tunes, then we'll board the mothership and we'll sail her back into the light. Oh, there are people everywhere speaking in tongues I don't understand, but they're my brothers and my sisters, and I surely do wish them well. Oh, 'cause this woman in my heart, she won't give up, she keeps on telling me, oh baby, you feel so much better if you step back into the light. Come on, baby, don't be so lonely. Step back into the light. Step into the light. Ooh, the light that's shining everywhere. Step into the light where impossible dreams come true. Let's believe in the light and the coming of some better days. We can make anything happen if we step back into the light. Come on, everybody, let's make it all happen. Just step back into the light. Anything is possible. Let's step back into the light.
Thank you. Woo! Wow, that was lovely. Thank you so much, Mark McKinnon. Thank you for showing up and supporting the cause here, as you said.
Thanks for all your hard work, everybody. I know you're putting a lot of hours into this, and I'm just honored to give you my minuscule assistance.
We really appreciate it, Mark. We really appreciate it. It's always lovely to hear your mellifluous voice.
I love you guys.
Love you too.
Love you too.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, well, stick around. Listen to John Michael. So we're going to put John Michael's son up next, and John Michael is my partner, and a retired contractor by day, working hard on our new our fixer-upper home that we got, and by night he is an incredible singer-songwriter.
I am. Where's that guy?
So here he is. This is John Michael's son.
Hey guys, it's good to see everyone. You know, can feel you there, feel you in my heart, feel you close. You know, I can't help, I might just burst out in the middle of the song, just laughing and whatever, but it's a happy, 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 happy day. Very happy day.
It really is.
So this sounds like I wrote this like 5 minutes ago, and I didn't. I wrote it about 15 years ago.
No, 30 years ago, honey.
30 years ago. Am I really that old?
Yeah, really, way more,
Okay.
maybe 35.
So, you know, the planet, I want it to change. I really radically want it to change. Then I'll never have to write a song. Hey, mister, and your arrogant ways. There is nothing you can do. Humble yourself before the eyes of the planet. Make different plan. There's nothing you can do but seek the truth and become warriors of wisdom. Fighting battles peacefully. A sacred world you see. Everything deserves the same equality. Warriors of wisdom. Become a warrior of wisdom. In this world, it's amazing to see the color and design and diversity. We need to learn to understand demanding, but not too demanding. Stop thinking we're so lovely and go fighting battles peacefully. The sacred world you see, everything deserves the same equality. Everything deserves the same warriors and wisdom. There is nothing we can do. Who are we to change the truth or change creation? To fit our own image, try as hard as we may. Truth won't go away, we're just a part of it, but not the whole of it. And that's not all of it. Don't get it yet. It's coming. Fighting battles peacefully. The sacred world you see, everything deserves the same equality. Everything deserves the same equality.
Yay!
I'm gonna give it to Sarah. Go
I'm trying to get this. There we go.
ahead. Yeah.
All right.
You be that guy.
Ah. So one of the things I like best about John Michael's music is that he lets me sing some of it with him. So we're going to sing a song together now called Hallelujah Street.
Yeah. Hallelujah. 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 It's going to be gay, you know, like when I get off of this, it's like I kind of been trying to keep it together ever since I found out the news and stuff like that. It's going to be a day of crying. It needs to be a day of crying, like relieving a lot of this holding on pattern. So anyway, yeah, Hallelujah Street. Wait a minute, guys.
The temperature has been fluctuating wildly in this house. Warm in the afternoon, freezing cold in the morning. It's playing havoc on the tuning.
Well, you know, there's maybe everybody's a musician in this, but if you're a musician, you're going to appreciate me tuning up. as I'm alive, I'm gonna feel this heart of mine till the end. And where I'm going, I really don't know. I'm alive right now. What else can I say? Love the world, baby, love the world, baby. Yeah, I'm a sacred wonder. I'm a sacred wonder. I'm a sacred wonder. Wandering down Hallelujah Street. Wandering down Hallelujah Street. Stars are falling at my feet. I'll be making wishes all night long. Here in paradise, it's always so sweet to see the stars come out and sing for you and me. Yeah. I'm a sacred wonder. I'm a sacred wonder. I'm a sacred wonder. Wandering down Hallelujah Street. Wandering down Hallelujah Street. All that's for me and you is joy and happiness. A little bit of the blues and in between a kiss of bliss. Yes, bliss. The world keeps turning every day. I can't read the future, but I know I'll be okay. Well, maybe I don't know, but it doesn't matter anyway. I'm alive right now. What else can I say? Love the world and love the world. I'm a sacred wonder. Everybody sing it. I'm a sacred wonder. I'm a sacred wonder. Wandering down Hallelujah Street. Wandering down Hallelujah Street. Wandering down Hallelujah Street. Wandering down, wandering down, wandering down, wandering down, wandering down Hallelujah Peace, everyone. Love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you.
Thanks. Thanks. And I think we're going to turn it over to
Yes,
David
let's turn
Zink
it-
right now. David, are you ready to play for us?
Yeehaw.
Yay.
Yes, and
Yay.
I need to, well, with apologies, I've been called away to the campus to meet with Action News Now down at Paradise Community Guilds, because they're sending a reporter from Action News Now to cover the native plant giveaway there at the campus. And they want to cover the Joy Will Find a Way screening tomorrow night at Merriam Park.
Oh, David, yeah, you have to get, you,
So-
we can keep playing. Look, John Michael has more music.
I'll play, well, please do, but I tell you what, why don't I
play
play
one?
one song and
Please
then hand
do,
it,
please do.
Yeah,
then
that's
hand it
fine.
back.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So I'll just do that. All right. Oh. So
Maybe we'll do a song and then you'll do another song, Mark? That'd be great, thanks.
well, actually, let's see. How can we do this? It's 12:38 now. Why don't I Why don't I read you a poem? You do a song, and then I'll do a song. Is that okay? You're muted. You're muted. What happened?
You do a poem and a song and go off on your great adventure.
Okay.
We need
Okay.
coverage. We need coverage. Thanks.
We need coverage. Well, I mentioned the thing that I have clung to post that means that my meaningful object earlier today. It's this book of poetry by Octavio Paz. And one of the things that has been present for all of us, I think, certainly since the campfire, but also during this wild social moment that we have, is the sense of fracturing and things being fragmented. And yet the movement that we're making in our community is this coming back together. And it's interesting that the thing that is fragmented is our language, and the thing that we're working to bring back together is our language. And it's reflective of the underlying reality of the fact that we are all connected together in life here in this moment. We all rise from the same planet. There is this underlying reality. And Octavio Paz, we are stardust, we are children of a planet birthed by a dying star, which itself was birthed by another star, which itself was birthed by a megastar, which itself was birthed in the Big Bang. We are light from light, and organic in our arising. And I just draw so much of a sense of rootedness and explanation in our fracturing in this poem. And it actually makes me remember that underlying connection. And so I wanted to read this poem to you because I find it beautiful and inspiring. And it was originally written in Spanish. So this is a translation. It's by Octavio Paz. The name of the poem is Fable. Ages of fire and of air, youth of water, from green to yellow, from yellow to red, from dream to watching, from desire to act. It was only one step, and you took it so lightly. Insects were living jewels. The heat rested by the side of the pond. Rain was a willow with unpinned hair. A tree grew in the palm of your hand, and that tree laughed, sang, prophesied. Its divinations filled the air with wings. There were simple miracles called birds. Everything was for everyone. Everyone was everything. There was only one huge word with no back to it. A word like a sun. One day, it broke into tiny pieces. They were the words of the language we now speak. Pieces that will never come together. Broken mirrors where the world sees itself shattered. Cool poem, huh? All right, so for those of you who don't know, again, tomorrow night at Merriam Park Drive-In Theater in Chico at 6 p.m. Sunday, on the anniversary of the campfire, we have a screening of the world premiere of Joy Will Find a Way, Experience Butte County's Resilience Through the Arts. And of course, you can also see it online if you go to nortonbuffalohall.org/joyfilm. You can watch it online in the comfort of your warm home, but I hope you'll join us for the screening. And this is a song that was birthed it began in March of 2019 when Lori and I were in our apartment in Chico trying to figure out our next steps forward. And this kind of jumped out for me on the ukulele. I recorded it and went for a walk, and I was walking through Bidwell Park. I just found myself looking up the whole time. And I listened to this thing for 2 hours. One chord pattern for 2 hours. Just kept looking up the whole time. And it took several months for me to pull together the lyrics for this tune, but I knew in short order that it needed to be a theme song for the Joy Will Find a Way event, and it has become a theme song for the film as well. So I figured I'd sing this for you. Hopefully it'll work out okay. Some days I gaze at the tall pines, the pines of paradise. Breathe in the incense of evergreen. Like breathing in paradise. Up here life is always reaching sunward for some noble teaching. Preach the good news through 1,000 shades of green. Up here where the hawks are circling treetops, there's a place for yearning I call my own, my piece of paradise. Some nights when the world lies broken, starless, and my heart unspoken, where do I call home? Where is my hiding place? Up on the hill where the moon still rises, silhouettes standing close and quiet, whisper of the dawn, and set my soul ablaze. Sweet breeze, raise a song in the timbered choir. The music of paradise. Sing to me a hymn of joy to guide my way. My way to paradise. Here is where life can be lived with wonder, grateful and blessed for the sky we're under, part of the whole, and whole in every part. Red bud in the springtime blazes, sweet peas in the summer graces. This is our home, the pines of paradise. This is our home, the pines of paradise.
Yay. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for a good process today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Godspeed.
Thank you so much, David. That's so beautiful. Such a beautiful song. Oh, and it gets, every time that I hear it, it means more to me, because it means last year's event. It means last year's anniversary. It's been in my mind all through the year. It's really done a weaving of its own. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Enjoyed the music of all three. It was very inspiring. Thank you.
So, should we play more music, or should we just call it an afternoon?
One more song.
How about two more?
Okay. Thank
Mark,
you.
Mark, do you want to play a song? Would you play a song for us?
Up.
Oh. Yeah, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Go ahead and mute yourself.
Let me. I sent him an unmute request. There you go. He's unmuted.
Am I good now?
Yes, you are.
When I was emotionally and psychologically absolutely paralyzed by the trauma of the fire, I couldn't even pick up my guitar for, oh God, maybe 6 weeks. I'd just look at it and I didn't even know what that thing was. I didn't know who I was. And then first time I was kind of prodded to sing a song, I had no idea what to do. So I reached back into my songbook, my Haypenny songbook, and I sang this. And I think it's apropos not only for then, but now. Of sky blue waters, where every nun kisses the sea. As we gazed out on the Skelly Islands, I asked me love to marry me. Ever since we've been a-roving, joint heart and soul, flesh, blood and bone. Now as the moon rises o'er the ring of Kerry, we're taking a long way home. Summer rain is coming, washed it clean. We hear the night wind on the wind, singing of sweet, sweet tomorrows as the mist rolls across the boggy fen. We're all travelers on the highway. May we never walk alone. Let's take on the lively air and dance, dance, dance back where we belong, taking a long way home. Pass the whiskey round once more, me boys. The summer day is nearly through.
Here's to our sweet, sweet tomorrow. May we walk this road again with you. We love and I bid ye good tidings. May we better walk alone. So let's raise up the parting glass just one more time, back where we belong, taking a long way home. We're taking a long way home. We're taking a long way home. We're taking a long way home. Yes, pass the whiskey round once more, me boys. This lovely day deserves a song. It's to our sweet, sweet tomorrow, and our love will last forever long. Life is a mystery, but this I know, from the very marrow of my bones. Love heals and binds us together, my friends, like a circle of sacred stones. Yes, love heals and binds us together, my friends, like a circle of sacred stones. We're all travelers on the highway. May we never walk alone. So let's take on the lively air and dance, 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 back where we belong. Oh, me love and I bid ye good tidings. Ye've been blessed company. So let's raise up the parting glass just one more time. Everyone believe we're taking a long way home. Yes, we're taking a long way home. We're taking a long way home. We're taking a long way home. Taking a long way home. Oh, we're taking a long way home.
Thank you. I actually remembered some of those lyrics.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you for singing for us. And you're welcome to come back tomorrow to the event. We're going to be doing this from 2 to 5 tomorrow, and everybody's welcome to come on back. And you know what? It occurred to me. I think we should ask David to give us the link to the video for those people who are, at a distance and can't make it to the drive-in. We should give them a link to Joy Will Find a Way so they can watch that from home. We're going to have
Buffalo.org/
yeah, we'll give it to them tomorrow. I think we have to put it in the chat, but it's Vimeo. It's on Vimeo, and so and you can go to nortonbuffalohall.org and find it there too. But thank you, everybody. Thanks for sticking around and listening to music, and thank you to Mark, and thank you to we're gonna sing some tomorrow right after the tomorrow's John Michael will sing a few songs right after tomorrow's show. So if you're saying, oh darn, we didn't get to hear any more John Michael, stick around after tomorrow's.
So today was just
and you can hear some more, okay?
Oh darn, I can hear myself too.
Thank you, everybody.
And enjoy the day to celebrate, right? Celebrate.
Celebration.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.